Hi everyone, it's Rob Watson, the module leader for TECH3501 Community Media Leadership. This is the fifth video that I've just recorded, so I might zone out halfway through and kind of look around the room, not really knowing what I'm talking about. Luckily, I have the notes in front of me and they're posted on, sorry, I'm amusing myself here, and they're posted on the wiki. They're on wiki.our.dmu.ac.uk in the TECH3501 section. So the topic this week is to start to explore the idea of intercultural communication. So before the enhancement week, we talked about roles that people play and people's dispositions to different roles and the social context that we can kind of framework that we can think about people's roles. So we used the Myers-Briggs and we looked at a brief look at kind of symbolic interactionism with the idea that if you change the social meaning and social arrangements in one field, you change the social arrangements and meanings in another field, and vice versa. They're related. They are a relational concept. And what we're thinking about, what we're looking for, is to identify the process that drives that change. What is it that is the catalyst for change? What's the social process that makes things different? So what we want to think about with this is, how does our communication and our understanding of culture necessitate us to change mindsets, if you like. So when we go to take part in the activities and the rituals and the social engagement of people of a different culture, how can we do that, and what should we be looking for that explains in which way things are different, how things are different? So we're viewing this intercultural communication, we're viewing this as a kind of dynamic process. We're looking at it as a kind of sense of cultural awareness or multicultural awareness. We're also looking at it from the point of view that there's a certain level of competence in practice about communication. We have a certain proficiency to be able to explain what and who we are. Maybe some people are more aware and conscious of what their communicative proficiency is than others, and we all slide along a scale, and sometimes we're all hyper aware of how we come across, and sometimes we just have to we're not aware of it at all and we assume and take it for granted. But how do we communicate this using symbols? So that kind of exchange, how do we understand the intercultural exchange? So we're going to think this through in terms of what the communicative process is. Typically, this is thought through in terms of kind of a transmission process, or an information management process, or a broadcast process. So you're looking at the idea that there's a kind of an encoding and a decoding of signals. Well, we want to move away from that because that's kind of a very limited and redundant and deterministic view of communication. Really what we're kind of focusing on is kind of active communication and generative communication, where we recognise the agency within each individual as they negotiate and explore the potential lines of action that they want to get things done. So we can still put the context of intercultural communication within, if you like, globalization. That's really important. And what the kind of, maybe a good way to look at this is what the kind of anxieties are. What are the kind of way that we, intercultural exchange creates a kind of a negative backflow, if you like, in which people are, their response to this form of change is to close up and to reject and to build walls and to refuse to communicate and to refuse to see things from other people's point of views. So this rests on a sociological concept of the other and how the other is defined. So what is it that we have our uniform monoculture that we feel as we're part of, and then we enter into another society or another cultural experience, and all of a sudden you realise that the people that you're with are other than yourself. How do you relate to that? Or is our culture something that allows us easy passage into that culture, or is it something that generates anxiety and creates friction? So what kind of excludes people and includes people? There's an in-group and an out-group. So we're thinking about what the kind of, how can we observe this process in practice? What are the things that we can look to that tell us how these things change over time? So we need to be critical about the status of intercultural communication, and particularly the prescribed differences that are given to different types of people and different communities of people who come from different backgrounds and have had different experiences and share different worldviews and have a different sense of expectation about the possibilities and the reference points, if you like, that define those possibilities. So in what way, I suppose what we're leading towards is how can we embrace and arrive at a sense of understanding of what the differences are between different cultures. And we have this ability. We're more than capable. We're smart. We can do this. We can understand what those differences are. We're not fixed in our cultural views. We can learn from each other. That's what we do. So how do shared understandings come about, and how does that come about in the context of, if you like, multiple communities? And the concept of things that we're familiar with, and the concept of culture that we're not familiar with anymore. At the moment, we live in a society, certainly in Leicester, it's hybridisation. It's a mixture of different cultural inputs and exchanges and ideas and expressions and behaviours and beliefs. And what we're really trying to think and identify is, what are the processes that drive this? What's the process at the heart of these ideas? Because if we can understand those processes, then we can change and adapt what we're doing, is the idea. Right, okay, the notes, as I say, the notes are up on the wiki. What was I going to say? It'd be good to have some conversation and discussion on DMU Talk. So you go to talk.our.dmu.ac.uk. I've set up a category for the International Community Media trip organisation event, the Expo event. That's where I've set it up for. So if you find that on the DMU Talk, if you've got any conversation, make sure you tag or set that category. Then you can add as many threads about whatever conversations and discussions you like. But if you've got the category set, then you can organise via the category. So I've set that up, so try it out. And we also need to be getting on to developing and using civic.our.dmu.ac.uk and learning how to use Civic RM. But we'll come to that as we move along. So see you at the lecture next week.